Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of LRM Ranks It. Tonight, or today, depending on whenever you're watching this, me and Nick are going to be ranking the Batman movies. Not all of them. We're not counting 66. We're not doing BVS. We're not doing Justice League. Just your Burton, Schumacher, and Nolan films. So, like I said, I'm joined tonight by Nick.
Hey, everybody.
And I keep saying tonight because we're actually recording at night, which is unfortunate because it's Sunday and I got to work tomorrow. Do you have to work tomorrow?
No, I'm not getting enough hours at work.
Lucky you. So I got to wake up early and go and be productive for society. Well, whatever. So, Nick, how you been doing, man?
Pretty good. Good. Watching Batman movies.
You know what? I absolutely hate you for making me watch so many Batman movies because this is your idea.
Oh, yeah. I mean, but like, what better way to follow Spider-Man than
you know what?
It's been rebooted even more, as we discussed on that.
No, absolutely. I never really thought of it that way. Yeah. I think Spider-Man has been rebooted more. That's terrible. Anyways, let's get into it. You guys know what we do here. We rank our movies, our favorite franchises and movies with similarities. Like we did Spider-Man, we did the MCU, and now we're doing Batman. This was tough, Nick. I'm telling you, there are a lot of really bad Batman movies out there. How'd you feel researching this?
I was going to say the opposite. I was like, I feel bad putting Batman Forever as far down as I do, because I'm like, these are all enjoyable movies except for one. Like, they're all enjoyable in their own way, as we'll get to. Like, but yeah, the quality really, they're guilty pleasures, but the quality isn't really there, with the exception of maybe three. Because even the other good ones are not accurate depictions of Batman at all.
And look, I'll be honest with you guys. You might be able to see some of those Superhero Squad Marvel toys behind me. I'm not the world's biggest DC fan. That doesn't mean like I'm not like a Marvel fanboy where it's like, fuck DC, they're horrible, they're garbage. It's not my cup of tea, but that's fine. I appreciate, geeks from all walks of life. If you guys like DC, great. If you love these Batman movies, awesome. There's many that I enjoy, but I'm not the fan a lot of you may be. Nick, where does Batman rank on your top 5 superheroes of all time? Not movies, just in general.
For a while, he was number 1.
Okay, cool.
He still might be number 1. I don't know. It's weird. For me with DC, I like Batman and Constantine, and I can just leave the rest. I'm mostly a Marvel zombie, but Batman and Constantine probably both rank in my top 5, even though they're not Marvel.
Okay, I can respect that. Batman's he's probably nowhere near my top 5. My top 5 are probably all ranked by Marvel, but that's okay, because I appreciate what Batman has done for the comic book community, the comic book universe. I mean, he's definitely a character that inspires a lot of people to get into the pop arts, get into comic books, movies, things like that, and he's had an interesting run in the business of movies. So why don't we go ahead and get into it? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Batman movies to rank. Like I said, we're not doing Batman 66 with the great and late Adam West, and we're not touching the Batfleck movies. Those are kind of group movies. LRM will hopefully be doing a DCEU or Worlds of DC Ranks It video sometime soon. But let's go ahead and get into it. Nick, what is your least favorite of the Batman movies that exist?
I hope we agree on this one. It's Batman and Robin.
Oh my God, we totally agree on this one.
It is unwatchable. It's completely unwatchable. The first 20 minutes are hilarious, especially if you just count the number of ice puns instead of listening to them. But once you get past that, it's because that's one with the Bat credit card.
Yes.
I do appreciate it's one of the few ones that acknowledges there is a Superman.
Yes.
Because there's the line like Superman doesn't have. This is why Superman doesn't have.
This is why Superman. Yep, exactly.
But doesn't he say that after they're arguing about the size of their cod pieces?
They're arguing over something there at the beginning. It's funny because that movie opens up with both of them putting on their suits. So you have like bat ass and then bat cod piece and then bat nipples, followed by Robin ass, Robin cod piece, and Robin nipples. And no, it's the car. That's what it is. Robin's like, I want a car. Can I get a car? Chicks dig the car. And that's when Batman's like, yeah, this is why Superman doesn't have a sidekick.
But luckily, I mean, he has a motorcycle that when he like jumps through the wall of a mirror or a building, it just forms a perfect Robin shape.
Yes.
So, it's just like, that's one of the things. It's like, by the time you get to Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, everything is bat-shaped. Like, a desk, like, any item you see in the Batcave, a clock is unnecessarily Batman-shaped. And it's like, wow, he loves his own theme. He just took that Tim Burton logo and he ran with it.
It's more comic book than comic books are. It really, like... You go from at this point, not getting to the Nolan movies yet, and since we'll both discuss Batman and Robin, since we both have it at the bottom of our list, you have this weird shift from the dark gothic, kind of Frank Miller-ish Tim Burton movies, to the complete return to the camp of Adam West and the 1960s Batman. Watching Batman and Robin, one of the worst moments is when the mad scientist is auctioning off Bane. It really feels not like a B-rated movie. It feels like a D-rated movie to me.
To be fair, that scientist is probably one of the strengths of that film. And as a kid, I remember Poison Ivy's scene being very sexy. But couldn't even get that far.
No, it doesn't. It does not hold up. I actually saw most of these movies from the 90s in theaters, if not all of them. It's kind of hard to remember exactly. I'm getting up there in years. Well, how about you? Did you see any of these original Batman before the Nolan trilogy? Did you see any of those in theater?
No, I just wasn't into superheroes at all until Spider-Man came out in 2002.
Okay.
So.
Lucky you.
Yeah.
Lucky you.
I've seen Burton taped off television, probably both of those. And I had a Batman Forever that was literally, I'd watch it all the time, but it was literally recorded off TV with the commercials and everything.
Ooh.
So that's the same way I owned Raiders, only I would pause it between the commercials by a sort of bootleg of Raiders of the Lost Ark for like years.
That's funny. The original, like you said, bootlegging, the original bootleg movies, recording off of VHS. Well, hey, is there any last words you could say about Batman and Robin? I can't think of anything except it's atrocious.
Well, see, the ice puns are really worth it, and I stick along for that. But the minute they're surfing off of a rocket with pieces of the rocket, that's when I always shut it off. And whenever my friend tries to my friend used to defend that movie when we were kids, and even then I was like, this is crap. Because I was like, man, Andrew, they drive on the arms of a statue during an action scene. Yeah. That doesn't make any sense to my child brain.
That, and another thing I noticed when I was rewatching it and trying desperately not to drink too much, so that way I could pay attention for this video. The fact that when Batman, Batgirl, and Robin all get together, all of a sudden their suits change to having this black and silver motif to do the big end fight. And then at the very, very end, Robin all of a sudden is back in his black and red suit. It makes no sense whatsoever.
I should have watched it.
Yeah.
I didn't remember she was in it.
Yes.
I forgot Alicia Silverstone, right? Like
yes,
that girl.
Alicia Silverstone, who all of a sudden comes, she's got an English mother because her mother's the sister of Alfred.
Yeah.
And she's been in school in England, but she has no English accent whatsoever. And she comes to the States, she meets Bruce and all them. She starts motorcycle wrestling for money because she's going to buy Alfred out of servitude. And then she puts on the... Yeah, she puts on the Batgirl outfit and all of a sudden knows how to fight and jump and make wonderful puns. So that's Batman and Robin in a nutshell, guys. It was horrible, and I'm ashamed that I actually rewatched it this week.
It's like a low point for the entire genre of superhero movies. Like, I've never seen Fan Four Stick, as I call it, the latest Fantastic Four, because that's how the title's written.
Yeah.
But this is... No, Catwoman's not even as bad as Batman and Robin.
It's
Catwoman's
really...
awful.
Yeah, it's... oh, man. Batman and Robin might be one of the, if not the worst superhero movie of all time. But carrying on, Nick, tell me what is number 6 for you.
Number 6 is one I wish I didn't have to put this low because I love it. But Batman Forever. Hooray.
Hey, me and you have another one in common.
Yeah, I was
6.
wondering if most of this list will probably be similar.
Maybe. I think we might have a couple, one above or one below when we get to the middle.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. But yeah, Batman Forever. I mean, Tommy Lee Jones, the most miscast villain of all time, and it completely works for me. It's such a cheesy movie. The only parts I don't like are the Robin parts, really. But like,
yeah,
even like Edward Nygma and his little machine, and God, what's the name of his boss, Ed Begley Jr.
Yeah, yep.
All of that, I don't know. And just the Riddler has the weirdest line for a Batman movie, Joygasm.
Oh God,
it's just, I don't know. It's so bad, it's good. Batman Forever is one of my favorite guilty pleasures.
That and the whole scene where Nygma's got his box built and they're absorbing all the stuff from Gotham and him and Two-Face are taking turns putting the thing on their brain and like, oh God, yes, there's brain waves coming into. It's absolutely ridiculous. I will say this though, Val Kilmer, he tried. I think he's the only person in the movie that was like looking at the Tim Burton films and being like, I need to live up to Michael Keaton. And I really do feel like Val Kilmer tried. I think he's a better Batman and a better Bruce Wayne than George Clooney was. What did you think of Kilmer?
That's actually something else. Yeah, I really like Val Kilmer. It's hard for me to rank Batmans. I think we'll get to that at the end. But I often rank Val Kilmer towards the top because I feel like he does a pretty good balance.
Yeah.
And I don't know. And he's not too... I don't know. And he doesn't really... Yeah. He's charming but quiet as Bruce Wayne.
Definitely, he's that.
He's also kind of quiet as Batman. He's like whispering all the time, but it works. I don't know why.
He's not quite at the Christian Bale. Oh my God, I'm Batman and I'm growling all over the place and I'm a metal singer and yeah, he's not.
Swear to me.
Where is she?
I'm not wearing hockey pads.
There's so many great videos out there making fun of the Chris Nolan Batman voice. It's funny you said something about hockey pants. That reminded me. Well, I don't want to go back to Batman and Robin, but I have to. The hockey scene at the beginning. All of a sudden, Batman and Robin both have hockey skates built into their boots. Oh my God, ridiculous! But back to Batman Forever and Val Kilmer. Yeah, Val Kilmer. I think he wanted to embody the Michael Keaton, Bruce Wayne, and Batman, and the director just had a completely different idea. He seemed to be a bigger fan of the 1960s Batman and wanted to go that route, which is really weird because the 90s kind of followed the 80s with, you know, darker, grittier movies. Yeah, grunge was real big in the 90s, and it felt really out of place.
Well, they have that kind of like, and that's how Schumacher defends him. He uses the 66 defense.
Yeah.
Where he's like, I was trying to kind of cross Burton with Batman 66. Like, it's for kids. Burton made it too dark or whatever. But, I mean, they have that kind of 90s, 80s, like Warriors type gang. It's just they're ridiculous. Like, when Robin takes the car out. Yeah, and he like gets attacked by like a gang. They're not skating, thankfully, but they're there. It's weird, and I don't know. That movie just has some of my favorite lines though. Like, it's boiling acid, and I'm like, I was thinking, watch that. I'm like, is boiling acid a thing?
I for this world apparently.
And just like holding the folder perfectly in front of his face when he gets turned into Two-Face, so it is a clean.
Yeah.
Like they showed the news clip. And then I'll even call him, his nickname is Face, I realized rewatching it 2 nights ago. Like, no one calls him, like, Harvey that much, and even the news calls him Harvey Two-Face, not like Harvey, like former district attorney Harvey Dent, or like Harvey Two-Face Dent. But I will say, I do think Jim Carrey crushes it. Like, for what he's given, he's like, I'm going to take this up to 11. And
he definitely did go to 11. I like that idea of it. I like Jim Carrey. I liked a lot of his movies back in the day. I love The Mask. I love Liar Liar. He's over the top. I'm not the world's biggest Ace Ventura fan, but I appreciate them for what they were. He played a great Riddler for that style of Riddler. Yeah. He kind of almost, was it just me, or did you kind of see a little bit of Mad Mod in there as well? No?
I don't even know what that is.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
What's Mad Mod?
Mad Mod is another. He's real big in the Teen Titans cartoon, and even used in Teen Titans Go, I think. British villain, very over the top, and I at least feel, maybe some of you do out there as well, Batman Forever, did the Riddler have a little bit of a Mad Mod vibe to him? I did. You're a terrible Batman fan to not know who Mad Mod is.
That's what I'm saying. I'm only a Batman and Constantine fan.
Got it.
Whenever Robin's like, fuck Batman, I'm like, well then fuck Robin.
Yeah.
Screw you, dick.
Oh, God. I am not looking forward to watching that. Hopefully it's good. Maybe. That's another conversation. We can
rank that stuff later.
This might be where me and you start to differ at. I'm going to go ahead and tell you what my next lowest Batman film is, coming in at number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can't count tonight. I don't know. All these videos I end up having to count because I got so much stuff going through my brain. But at number 5 for me is The Dark Knight Rises. Yeah, definitely. I figured me and you might differ here a little
difference.
bit. Yeah. Look, The Dark Knight Rises was supposed to be this epic finish to the Nolan Trilogy, and I think where its weakest point is the ending, the big switcheroo with, and spoiler, Ra's al Ghul's daughter being in this movie and being the primary antagonist. The kind of forced sacrifice that Batman has, which doesn't really stick. We see at the end of the movie that Bruce Wayne did survive. That, and I'm going to say it, Tom Hardy's voice as Bane just grates me. It really, really does. He kind of reminds me of Dr. Dugong from the Venture Brothers. Do you watch Venture Brothers?
Very little, but I do know who you're talking about.
Okay. It reminds me a little bit of Dr. Dugong. I've got cuttlefish. And it just... Look, I appreciate what they were trying to do. It's a very Nolan-esque movie, but it's not that strong in my mind. Before we get to where it is on your list, what type of response do you have to that?
I want to do it. Let's see. Give me 1 second. I was born in the shadows, molded by it. I used to be able to do a good Bane. It's always about the cup handle. Like, you think this gives power over me? I can't do it at all anymore. But that's all we used to, I work at a movie theater for like the last 6 years, so that's all we did. It was Borat and it's Bane, and then Bane comes back every few months still, like all these years later. I like Dark Knight Rises a lot more, and in fact that was the only other one I rewatched for prep for this. Because even though I know them all a million times, like Batman Forever and Dark Knight Rises was the ones I felt like watching.
So you're telling me I suffered for the last week watching all of these again, and you didn't?
No, not completely, because we've... just like with Spider-Man, I've seen all these movies at least 20 times.
I've got something in my pocket for you, Nick, and I'm afraid if I show it, YouTube will completely just, ban this video. Anyways, go ahead.
No, but I don't feel like I had to, just because even if we did, like, I know you already did MCU, but it's like I've seen all these movies. Like 20 is on the low end for me with Batman movies. Like that's Batman and Robin. I've seen the Nolan ones like upwards of 50 times. Like
okay.
When I was watching Dark Knight Rises, I was like, I didn't know every character's line, but I knew every Bane line before it happened.
Yeah.
Perhaps he's wondering why he would shoot a man before throwing him out of a plane.
It just, for me, it just...
I'll defend it more when it's my turn. Let me see if I can discuss weaknesses while you're discussing weaknesses.
Go ahead. Discuss a weakness for it.
I hate that he's alive at the end. I believe in a Batman that would only retire when he's absolutely too old or he's dead. That's kind of the Batman they push the rest of the trilogy. I don't believe in a Batman who retires and goes off to live with Catwoman. Like... he should have died there, and that's like the perfect ending to a Batman trilogy, is like Batman dies saving the city.
It could have been, and they could have set up a Batman Beyond type thing with Joseph Gordon-Levitt instead of having him randomly have the name of Robin in the movie. The ending for it all just it seems weak to me, and excuse me, and like I said, it's a very Nolan-esque movie. It just, I don't know if it quite fits in with the other films. And that's my take on it. So
it would have fit in better, I think, if Heath Ledger was still alive, because I think he was either had a small role, like as small as he may have been. I heard he was going to be the Scarecrow's role, though it's great to have Cillian Murphy in all three.
Yeah,
but I don't know, if you work the Joker into that plot, I think it's far more interesting.
It could have been interesting. It definitely could have, and maybe they would have even had Bane playing second fiddle, not to just Talia, but both of them playing second fiddle to Joker in the end. That could have been an interesting take. I definitely know Ledger's death threw a wrench into Nolan's plans. I think that's a widely accepted idea. Let's go ahead and continue, since you'll have more to say about this movie a little later. What's your number 5?
Oh, it's so hard with like there's two sections on this list that are difficult. And this is the one. I can never decide between Batman. I'm going to say Batman Returns. And put Batman above it. It's an exaggeration. I think you've called me on it before when I've said Batman Returns is my least favorite Batman movie, but it's my favorite Tim Burton movie.
Yeah.
That's not exactly accurate. Batman Returns is not a Batman movie, but it's a great Tim Burton movie.
Really?
It's just Batman slaughters people, which isn't that much different than the first one, but just, I remember Burton only signed on because he's like, I'm signing on, but only if I can give these weird characters their own origins that have nothing to do with the comics. And as a result, he's a half penguin type man, and she's brought to life by cats. And it's like, it's a great Burton movie. Like, I love all the Burton elements. The score's the creepiest of all the movies. Like, Walken's weird, but it's like everything about it is incredibly creepy, and like her death is treated like no big thing, which is, I always find that weird, and like, because it is supposed to be a kids movie in the end, not a kids movie, but that's what they were really aiming these movies at, especially 20 years ago. So it was more of a kids movie than Batman is today. And I don't know, it's kind of a bizarre Christmas treat, because it's also like set around Christmas and stuff. It's just a weird mixture of Burton that works really well for me on that level, but I can't put it higher than Batman. I'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah, I actually have Batman Returns quite high on my list, believe it or not. I do agree with you. It's a very Tim Burton movie, and I appreciate him not being beholden to the source material. That's real weird, because there's other movies where I'm like, oh, how dare you separate yourself from the source material, you son of a bitch. But I liked it. I really did. I kind of like the fracturing, the complete breaking of Catwoman, of Selena Kyle.
Yes.
And even though Michelle Pfeiffer, all the meow and stuff like that throughout the movie,
putting the bird in her mouth.
Putting the bird in is very campy. I think there's some moments in there with her where you really get to see a woman that is completely shattered into 1,000 pieces, and she as an actress does a great job at showing that. So I definitely appreciate it. Some of you are going to hate me for this. Are you ready to carry on to my number?
Well, I was just going to say, like,
go ahead.
It's one of those ones where I feel bad putting it that, like, even more so than Batman Forever. I feel bad putting it that low. It's just, I don't know what else I could put below it. You know, Batman and Batman Returns kind of switch spots in my mind.
Okay,
but it's just like it's one of my favorite movies, but it's like, because all the other Batman movies are even better, I'm forced to put it this far down. Because I love watching Batman Returns. It's from the moment dropping the kid in the water with the basket, like the death of the penguin, just like going blah and like spitting up green stuff and just falling, and the penguin's carrying him off.
Yeah. Oh, there's definitely the issues with it, and we'll get another opportunity to discuss it. And I completely respect your opinion, but wholeheartedly disagree with it. Going into number 4, and like I was saying before, I was so rudely interrupted in my own video. No, I'm joking. My number 4. Oh God, I'm gonna get hate mail. I'm gonna use this. Send your hate mail to my Twitter at that Kyle Malone. Batman Begins. Yes. Batman Begins is not my top 3. It is such a dated movie. Look, I appreciate for what Chris Nolan was doing, absolutely, but like I said, it's dated. I watched it not too long ago. When was the last time you watched Batman Begins, Nick?
Oh, I've watched every Batman movie since the beginning of the year.
It's
a yearly thing for me with all of them except for Batman and Robin.
Do you think it's a little bit dated? Not based on where you put it in your list, but do you feel that it's a little dated?
I would only say that because they put it in the most realistic Gotham. The Burton ones feel kind of timeless.
Yeah.
And this one's very much 2006.
Yes, absolutely.
But otherwise, filmmaking wise, I wouldn't say it feels dated.
I do. Even with the montage and some of the far off shots, it feels so 2002 Spider-Man to me. I don't know why I equate it to that. Maybe they're both origin films, but it really does. Nolan, who is usually really good at handling a core story, wanted so much going on between the League of Assassins and Scarecrow and everything going on.
Shadows.
Or League of Shadows. Why'd I say Assassins? Whatever.
That's
Who's the League of Assassins? Okay, there we go. That's where I got it from. But yeah, the League of Shadows. You've got this mess going on to where it can get confusing the first time ever watching this movie, and to me, the final fight with Ra's is a little anticlimactic. I mean, it's this big epic train, and there's steam and effects. The actual fight just doesn't feel as epic to me as I think it should have.
That's one of my best friend's complaints about it.
Okay.
He's like, I don't believe for a second that Liam Neeson would stand a chance against a young Christian Bale. And he's wearing his pads and stuff, and and Liam Neeson's putting up a fight. But I don't know. That's probably the most dated part of the movie is when you have the guys in Wayne Tower being like watching the train. They're like, it's heading for the water source.
Yeah,
just kind of talking through it, oh my God, if it gets any closer, all the water in Gotham will be poisoned.
That and I don't know. Maybe I understand microwaves a little bit too much, but no matter how big your device is, it's still got to be kind of angled, and you're not going to evaporate that much water. I don't know. Whatever. It's number 4 to me. I appreciate for what it's worth. We'll discuss it a little bit more when we get to it on your list. So what's number 4 for you?
I just gotta put all the non-Nolan ones after the Nolan ones. Batman. I got to. We'll discuss the Nolan ones in a second, but I think they all work as such a unit that it's hard to separate them. I love Batman. Again, I feel terrible putting it 4th on a list of Batman movies because I would even say I like Jack Nicholson more than I like Heath Ledger as far as Jokers.
He's a good take on it. Yeah.
I mean, they're two very different takes, but I like the Joker who has fun, which is why even Jared Leto disappointed me. I like the Mark Hamill Joker who's laughing and having a great time and shooting his TV with a gun because Batman's on it. And
he's unhinged. Nicholson was unhinged. I like that aspect of it.
And I already like Jack Napier, the name, more than Arthur, which is the name they released for Joaquin Phoenix recently.
Oh, God. Joker.
He's Arthur.
Arthur.
And it was shared originally on Instagram by someone called Jay Napier. But I don't know. There's so many great moments in that movie, from this town needs an enema to you're my number one guy, Jack, and all that stuff. It's just fun. I don't know. It's interesting they don't do the full origin, even though it's one of the first superhero movies.
Yeah.
I think they touch on it a little bit. He brings, and just Michael Keaton versus Jack Nicholson. That's you want to get nuts, and he's breaking let's get nuts. It's just it's hard to get a better Batman and Joker combo than those two actors.
I mean, it.
And that's the most iconic. It's not my favorite anymore because they overdo it. But I mean, there's something special about Joker and Batman, just like there's something special about Green Goblin and Spider-Man.
One of the cool things about it, we'll discuss the movie a little bit more when we get to it on my list. But I do appreciate, as a matter of fact, that's your number 4?
Yeah.
Okay,
Sorry.
which means we're on to 3 for me next, which is Batman. So we'll discuss Batman, Michael Keaton, a little bit more. If you think about it, the Marvel Cinematic Universe has kind of gotten, since Phase 2, Phase 3, away from the traditional origin movie, and Batman really kind of did the same. The movie opens up with a couple with a young son, the dad getting gunned down, and then Batman in the distance seeing it happen, which, you know, kind of plays off of his origin when both of his parents were gunned down by criminals in Gotham. And Batman gets to take down those criminals that just killed this young boy's dad. And I like that. And they kind of do a Spider-Man Homecoming with Batman's origin. They show it and they tell it, but it's not like a Sam Raimi Spider-Man 1 or Mark Webb Amazing Spider-Man 1 or a Iron Man 1. It's not the complete origin. We meet Michael Keaton as Batman when he's been Batman for a little bit, enough that he's created kind of a mythos about him. You know, people around Gotham aren't quite sure if the Batman is real, if he's fake. I appreciated that part of it. How'd you feel about the way they handled the origin?
That's what I'm saying. I was just going to compare it to Homecoming in the way it and I love the opening scene where you think it is it's built for Batman fans. And the general audience is like, what's going on? And you're like, oh, it's a fun reversal. Not a complete reversal, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
I will bring up one of my main complaints about it that you can respond to. It's very much something Spider-Man did 10 years later or 20 years later. 20 years later. Jack Napier had to tie into the death of his Jack Napier had to tie into the death of his parents. Mm-hmm. It's very like Sandman ties into the death of Uncle Ben. It's like, what? Yeah. Do the characters have to be that interconnected? No. Can't there be some chance in it?
It didn't have to, and I kind of see why they did it back in the 80s, early 90s. Movie-going audiences needed something a little bit more tangible, I guess, maybe. They were used to having... movies back in the day really used to spoon-feed us story. Did they not?
Yeah, oh, totally.
Yeah.
There's not really much subtlety to, Raiders of the Lost Ark or Lethal Weapon or something.
No, and I think that's what it was. I've always really appreciated Joker not having an origin. Mm-hmm. That's one of the best things about Ledger's Joker is he tells multiple versions of how he got his scars, how he became the Joker. And I've always liked that aspect of it. I don't think it's not that much of a demerit on Batman, 1989 Batman, but definitely took a little bit away from it. If Tim Burton's Batman is your first introduction to the character of both Wayne Batman and Joker, it's great. If it's not, if you've read the comics, if you've seen the animated series, things like that, it kind of takes away from it a little bit. Do you agree?
I agree, but I don't, he definitely doesn't need an origin. That's why he works better in the comic with even the maybe origin of Killing Joke.
Yep.
But I kind of like how quickly in their version of it that they use, knowing he's a gangster, and it works better for Batman than it would ever work again.
Yeah, definitely.
And because even the shot where his hand comes out of the acid and it's bleached, or he's give me the mirror, give me the mirror. It's also fun.
There's a part there where his hand comes out and it's all bleached, much as pale as my hand looks in these wonderful lights I've got. But if you go back and watch the movie, and there's a part where you see his hand, but this part of it is regular flesh tone. It's regular Jack Nicholson flesh. So you got this bleach white and then regular flesh, and then there's a sleeve there. And I thought that was a funny editing moment that they missed. I don't know if you caught that, but
no. But I even love the part where he shocks the other dude.
Oh,
turns him into like a
hand,
skeleton.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just or the parade with the poison gas, and Batman uses the clipper.
And the Prince music. Let's not forget the Prince music. Oh, it's just complete 1989 Tim Burton wonderfulness.
And then the museum scene, even where he's like, not this one. This one speaks to me.
Yeah,
because it's like the most violent painting.
Yes.
I like this one.
Give it to Nicholson. He did a great version. He kind of bridged the Ledger and the Caesar from the 60s and the Nolan Trilogy, and he's right there in the middle. I love it. I'm not going to say it's necessarily better than Ledger, but it's at least as good for what it was trying to do.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, they're very different, so it is hard to compare them.
Yeah, exactly.
But
so
one's like a psychopath. Well, they're both psychopaths, but yeah, they're different.
Yeah. So let's go ahead, and obviously we know where your top 3 come from. Have at it, Nick. You're number 3.
Dark Knight Rises.
Okay.
It's the weakest of the 3, for sure. I always am unhappy Anne Hathaway was cast as Catwoman, but then every time I go back and rewatch it, I'm like, she has a pretty good balance of Selena. Like, she's a very smooth Catwoman, like more in the comics. Like, the whole, like, she seems so innocent, and then all of a sudden, she's kidnapped the senator or gotten him drunk or whatever.
Yeah.
And one of my absolute favorite fight scenes in any movie is Bane versus Batman. Like, the dialogue.
The first fight or the last one?
No, not the last one. The first one.
Okay.
Where he's like, "Let me show you where we've made our home," and like, I would break you. But that's when I worked at the movie theater in IMAX. You could hear when that scene started across the building because you just hear boom, boom when they're punching each other, and I would always run into the auditorium to watch that in IMAX. It was also shot in IMAX, and like the other Bane fight scene's kind of lame because suddenly like Batman's just like holding his own, and Christian Bale's Batman is actually fairly unexciting with his fighting style, even though his suit moves around more so he can move his neck. It's like compared to Ben Affleck's Batman, just the way he moves, even though it's CGI, it's very clunky.
Yeah, and I like that moment in Batman Begins where he's all like, I need to be able to move my head more. It's kind of like a throwback at the very stiff.
Yeah. I don't think that's
Tim
Dark
Burton.
Knight.
Is it Dark Knight where he does
Dark
that?
Knight. In the first movie, he's
okay, yeah,
and it's not even his line. Fox says he's like,
somebody
move
does.
Your head.
Somebody says it. I don't remember the specifics, but yeah, and it's kind of like a throwback to Tim Burton and Schumacher, where they're just like they can't move their necks. Anyways, go ahead, continue on.
My favorite moment is watching the first Batman, and he looks up the clock tower because the Joker's up there. He goes like,
yeah. Hold on, let me lay down here so I can see this.
Yeah, but no, I think Rises have lots of. It's almost too big for a Batman story. Like, you don't need a nuclear bomb to make a Batman story interesting. But
why is Gotham so important? Like, everything revolves around Gotham. I don't get it.
There's no reference at all to Metropolis in this franchise, and they even on the news. I mean, you just rewatched it too. The president's like America's most important city, or the world's most important city.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that the script is a combination of is it Nightfall? Is that the one where he gets his spine broken?
Yeah, Nightfall.
And No Man's Land, which is one where there's an earthquake and people who are rich enough can evacuate, but like the poor people, the criminals, and the Bat family stays. And it's just the rest of the country's forgotten about them. They're just like, Gotham's a cesspool now. Forget it. And I like that movie was well timed with the 1%, 99% thing, because some of that Bane stuff's pretty powerful, where he's like, "Take back your city," and like people are like just attacking rich people's homes and throwing stuff out. And
but it's all criminals. It's not even like the standard issue.
Well, some of them are just
Gotham citizens.
Yeah,
not as many. I mean, he frees the criminal. Like, they make a big focus on the criminals from the previous movies
Blackgate,
and the Dent Act as like being wrongfully imprisoned.
That's probably one of my favorite parts about it is both the Dent Act, the opening of the movie, and both the speech feeding into. I mean, how I like stunt features. That's one of the things I like about all three of these Batman movies is they did most of that airplane thing.
A lot of really good practical effects. Yeah,
and shot it in full IMAX. which
Yep.
is amazing.
This is one of the first. Wasn't it one of the first big ones to have a lot of like shot for IMAX? Yeah,
I think no movie has been shot entirely in that aspect ratio of IMAX.
No, I thought Infinity War wasn't it?
I don't think it's shot in that ratio though. When they say that, they mean you get the other extra 26%.
Yeah,
which is still like digital IMAX. Like this was shot in the same thing as Mission Impossible,
the full one,
Ghost Protocol, where it's taller than it is. Was it 3:4 aspect ratio or 4:3 aspect ratio?
Something like that. Either way, Dark Knight Rises definitely pioneered bringing IMAX scenes into the movie.
Yeah, well, Dark Knight did.
Dark Knight,
but they increased it for Rises, and some of those
whatever they
did
did stuff.
Impressive.
IMAX, Nolan, blah, go.
I don't know. I really love the Gordon stuff, whether he should tell the truth about Harvey Dent and how that backfires on him.
I like that too.
Because he has to keep up the Dent Act to keep the prisoners in jail, but at the same time he's like, he tried to kill my son, my wife, and my daughter.
Yeah, it's
and
really
Batman
hard.
Killed him.
Yep, very hard to do. That's two of us covering that movie. It's not a bad movie, by any means necessary. It just do you agree? So as far as the Nolan trilogy, do you think that's the most Nolan of the three? Because I do. I feel that's the most Nolan of the three.
No, I feel like Batman Begins is actually the most Nolan of the three.
Really?
Just because he's still using that crazy he's still trying to tell a story out of sequence where he doesn't try that again with the other Batman movies.
I can see that part. I guess maybe it's just the grand epicness of it. I guess Batman Begins, I can see it as a Memento Batman movie, but when I look at Dark Knight Rises, I'm thinking things like Interstellar and Inception, these big grand epics. Maybe that's where I'm approaching it from. Go ahead.
Say one more thing though. I really like the full circle of the Al Ghuls, where Talia and her father die in the exact same way.
It is kind of interesting.
It's it's both of them. It's the crash, which I don't know. It's kind of nice. It makes me think of the Batman. I'll get to Batman Begins on my own. So
yeah, kind of secular, whatever.
Circle
yeah. It's a cycle. It's a circle. It's the circle of life. Anyways, I can't sing. It's all good. Cyclical. There you go. There's the word. All right. So why don't we go ahead and continue on with your number 2?
This is another one where I flip-flop, like Batman and Batman Returns. But I'm going to go with Batman Begins as my number 2. At the time, it felt revolutionary. You've said it hasn't aged that well, but you've seen your Spider-Mans. I was over Batman, so I didn't even see it in theaters. I saw it on an airplane on the way to Disneyland, or Disney World. So, I was just like, well, I'm bored. I'll give it a chance. But Batman Forever, based on Batman and Robin, Batman's my least favorite superhero. He doesn't even have superpowers. This is my reason.
Yeah.
And then he became my favorite after Batman Begins. Because it was so clever. I think I'd seen Memento before that. So I was aware of Nolan. I definitely saw Memento before that. And it just felt epic, both epic in a way even Spider-Man's never felt, even though again, it's kind of an overly complicated Batman plot where it's way bigger than it needs to be.
Yeah.
I like a more intimate, or even, all three of them are bigger than they need to be. You can just do an intimate detective story with Batman. You don't need to have fairies or giant kidnappings and stuff. But, I just love some of the, it's a great version of Alfred compared to the same guy playing him in the first 4, obviously.
Yeah, I'll give you that. But fantastic. I like Michael Caine. So.
Michael Caine might even have his best scene in Dark Knight Rises, but we got past that. Where he's like, I won't watch another Wayne die, or whatever. And,
Michael Caine's
that
a great
scene
actor.
gets me.
Great actor.
But I don't know. And the main thing that blew my mind at that point, because my main franchise. Well, I guess the other main I'm not a big fan of X-Men, but I watched those. They tried the Hulk, I think, before they did Batman Begins. But really, I was only a Spider-Man guy because they hadn't put any other good superhero movies out at that point. And it was so mind-blowing to me that a superhero film would have a clear theme in a way I've never seen in the genre, and the theme was fear. And it's It's not like you watch most superhero movies and you're like, oh, the theme of Spider-Man was blah, blah, blah. But it was like, this feels like a real movie. I can tell what the theme is, even though it's kind of thrown in my face. Like, Cillian Murphy is fascinating as Scarecrow, and that's why I think one of Nolan's best early parts of his vision is Scarecrow's mask and the fear toxin.
I really wish they would have continued on with him a little bit more. I really do think he was underused. The fact that he pops up in each movie, I liked him. I really thought, I wish they'd kind of followed him around a little bit more.
I love that they let him pop up all 3 times, because it kind of like, it keeps the idea I wish they kept with the Joker, but of course we lost Heath Ledger, where it's like, because like up until, well, not even this movie, even up until this movie, you kill all the villains in the Spider-Man movie.
Yep.
It's like, but this one, they let Cillian Murphy live. Yeah, he killed Ra's al Ghul. And I think Falcone, doesn't he get killed earlier in the movie, or is he just driven crazy? Well, I also love the mob
I think he just gets driven crazy. Maybe he gets killed in the prison. I can't remember specifically. I just watched that movie last week, too, and I can't remember.
And then, I don't know, it was the first Batman movie I liked, which maybe I keep it at number 2 and someone switch it with number 1. Like, it was the first one where I was like, wow, that's what makes him interesting, is he's a guy without superpowers. Like,
yeah. I can see that. It's definitely
just like, why did we fall, Master Bruce? It's like, oh, it's so well written.
It definitely was needed, and I think Nolan was a good guy to attack it. He didn't approach it as a comic book property, I don't think. I think Sam Raimi approached Spider-Man as a comic book, and I think, God, I can't even remember his name now. I'm drawing such a blank for the X-Men.
It's Bryan Singer.
There you go. Thank you. He approached the X-Men as comic book movies.
Sort of.
Nolan approached, well, I didn't say it was a good approach. I just said he kind of approached it from a comic book standpoint. Nolan definitely approached it as a film first. One of the things, and I know we're getting towards the end of our video, the end of our list, one of the things I really think is lacking through all these movies is enough detective work. I mean, Batman first appeared in Detective Comics. He still runs in Detective Comics. He's supposed to be this genius detective. There's a little bit in everything except for the Batman and Robin, Batman Forever. There's a little bit of it. I do think they touch on the detective aspect decently in 1989 Batman. But, you know, regardless of that, Nolan definitely did what was needed for the character, especially coming off of Batman and Robin and Batman Forever.
And I really like that we hadn't seen that side of Batman. This, like, the early Batman, where, like, when he pushes the stapler against Gordon's neck.
Yeah.
And he's like, now there's 2 of us. And then when he's trying to escape, he can, like, barely make a jump, which reminds me of Batman Year One, like, where he almost drops the criminal right off. And it's kind of... I'm glad we didn't spend too much time there, but I like seeing the Bruce Wayne who still makes mistakes.
Yeah, and that's good. And I never want to see them reboot Batman again. Otherwise, we're getting into Spider-Man territory, even though Homecoming was done really well.
Yeah.
If they go with and we're projecting here for Matt Reeves is doing the Batman, right?
Yep.
Yeah, Matt Reeves is the Batman. If you go too young, I think you really have to throw yourself wholly into that. The sloppy Batman, the learning Batman, because if you don't, you're just rehashing stuff that's already been done. That's a good point. I never really thought about that. The mistakes he makes in Batman Begins.
Because I don't know if I want to see a whole movie of that, but I've always wanted them to bring back the comic Legends of the Batman, because that dealt in early stories, which I always found the most fascinating, where it's like...
And more detective work.
Yeah, exactly. They're very detective. I would even say the 2 that do the most detective work are Batman Begins and Dark Knight.
They do pretty decent.
But I want to see a full-on movie with that. Smaller stakes. You don't need fairies. You don't need gas mains or water mains exploding.
No.
But a fun detective story with a small
detective.
threat. Yeah, like you don't solve these riddles in time, you're dead. I guess I'm pitching the Riddler right now, but...
I can see that. The Riddler wouldn't be that bad of an idea, actually. We've seen a Scarecrow, a Joker, the other villains from Batman and Robin and Batman Forever, but a Riddler would be... It'd be interesting.
Do I really want to see Hugo Strange the most? As far as characters we haven't seen yet.
I can see that. Let's get into my number 2, which is Batman Returns. And it's really high up there on the list. And like I said, I like Burton's take on it. It's darker. Yeah, it doesn't follow the source material that much. And I don't really fault it for that. And I guess because I like Burton, I like this movie so much. It's it's a very Burton movie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the most Burton-y.
The most Burton movie.
Like I said, I think I would say, Batman's the better Batman movie. Batman Returns is the better Burton movie.
And I think I put Returns over a little bit because of how dark it is. You know, speaking of how dark it is and Batman killing people, and I think he does off at least 1 or 2 people.
Yeah, he hands that guy the bomb and then knocks him down the
straps
sewer.
it to his pants.
And then he smiles.
Knocks him into, yes! And then you have all
Jones.
these people for Batman versus Superman. Batman wouldn't kill anybody, but I love 1989 and Tim Burton's Batman. But he wouldn't kill it. Dude just killed a clown. Like, just blew a clown to smithereens.
Plus,
and
if you look at the Nolan ones, he's blowing up cars left and right.
Yes,
it's like
yes,
how does he know there aren't kids in that car?
All of those guys, and that's something I pointed out to my wife. I'm like, Batman never kills anybody, and there he just blew up like a line of cars so he could jump his Batpod motorcycle off of a ramp or something like that. Yeah, Batman's killed. Batman will continue to kill. And I do. I like it. It's dark. I really think Pfeiffer did a great job playing Selena Kyle, that version of Selena Kyle. Mm-hmm. She's fractured. She's broken. It's great. Christopher Walken. How could you not like Christopher Walken? He's great in that movie as a corrupt politician and businessman. And Danny DeVito was born to play the Penguin.
Danny
or at least
DeVito.
At least that version of the Penguin. I liked it. I did. I really thought it was fun.
And I think the Selena Bruce Wayne stuff works really well.
Yes.
Like, aside the Batman Catwoman stuff. Like,
yes.
It's, without having like a long comic history, it's a very cool way to introduce their little romance.
Absolutely.
Like in a truncated time.
Yep. And the fact she survives and he sees her like in the shadows towards the end of the movie. And I kind of like that they end the movie with Wayne in the back of his car versus in the bat suit. I did like that. I appreciate that. Any last words on any of the other movies before we get to both of our number 1, which is obviously the same?
I just love that Danny DeVito on Sunny has become Danny DeVito from Dark Knight Returns. And he no longer needs the suit to be that shaped. To be shaped like that.
Well, he did great. I liked him as the Penguin.
He's great.
It was interesting. It was very creepy. He was creepy.
Now that he's going to be in Dumbo, you might as well find him an MCU role.
Let's
working
do
for
it.
Disney.
Fuck it. Where would you put Danny DeVito in the MCU?
I would re-edit Infinity War and put him as the dwarf who makes the... Just because I love Peter Dinklage, but he's the least inspiring actor in that movie.
Yeah, definitely. Although the giant dwarf thing, it worked for me.
That was great. That was funny, but I felt like he was hilarious. The flattest actor in that movie.
Yeah, definitely. So let's go to it. Number 1, I think it is safe to say that this is the majority of people's number 1 Batman movie, The Dark Knight. Nick, take it away.
The only reason I put it above Batman Begins is Harvey Dent.
Eckhart does a great job.
What?
Eckhart does a great job.
Oh, he does a great job, and it's my favorite comic. It's The Long Halloween with the Joker added in. Yep. I love The Long Halloween. Like, it's a crime movie before it's a Batman movie, which is brilliant. Yeah. I think Dent, Batman, and Gordon almost have equal screen time, even with Gordon being fake dead for part of it.
Yeah.
It's kind of, I hate to call it a masterpiece because I definitely have big faults with it. Like, I have stuff I would cut entirely out of it to make it shorter, but it's cool. Like, I wish they'd save Two-Face so we'd have more of him later, but it almost is more effective to have, we don't see Two-Face for long because that's Dent's final transformation. That's not who Dent's going to be for a whole movie. That's the end of Dent's journey. And just like you live long enough, to see yourself, the whole villain
become
thing.
The villain. Yep.
Oh, it's just like I said, Batman and Dark Knight and Batman Begins can switch around, but in the end, I gotta go with it's made Harvey Dent probably my third favorite DC character because of just that movie alone, and then reading Long Halloween and stuff. Like, I would love to see just Dent in the Batman, and then hopefully there's a sequel where we later get to see a little bit of Two-Face.
That would be interesting.
And I wish they put Dent in Batman Begins, even though the plot plays into there being a new DA, because Rachel's boss was murdered in Batman Begins. Yeah. If they knew they were doing it, would have been fun to have just Aaron Eckhart have like 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Batman Begins, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I could see that. Eckhart did a great job as Dent. You gotta. Everybody obsesses over Ledger's Joker, and he did great. He really did. And there's times where I like Nicholson better than Ledger. Times where I like Ledger better than Nicholson. The one thing I didn't like about him is there wasn't enough craziness. He was very calculated. And maybe I'm used to the animated series, maybe I'm used to the Jack Nicholson, but I like my Joker with a little bit more craziness. He was definitely a broken character, definitely had some really fucked up shit happen to him, but he was just too cold, too calculating for me to say he's the end-all, be-all Joker. I would still say that belongs to Mark Hamill's animated series Joker. What do you think?
Mark Hamill's by far the best Joker. But even stuff where it's like, I'm not crazy. I'm not. Like, yeah, he's not crazy, as you said. He reminds me more of Antoine Chigurh from No Country for Old Men, where he has a very specific set of rules that don't fit our morals, but he's following them. He's not doing anything randomly. He's like,
no,
his rules adjust when he wants to go from killing Batman to finding out who he is.
Yeah.
And just one of the... Yeah, like, I would say he's totally overrated as Joker. Yeah. Like, I love him, but, like, if only Hamill could somehow play him live action. But
it's just one of those... And look, here's one of those things. It's tragic what happened to Ledger, and I would never take anything away from that, especially for his friends and family. And whether you like any of his other movies is irrelevant. It's always sad when somebody dies in that way. They really needed some help. But I think you said it right. He's overrated, and I wonder, would The Dark Knight get the same accolades, the same reputation it has if Ledger hadn't died? Do you think that played into any of the mythos, the sensationalization of that movie at all?
A little bit, because my friend did the whole, is it viral marketing campaign that they were? No, there's a word for it. It's not augmented reality. There's a word for this. I read a whole book about it. This is a word for this kind of marketing, where they had the online game where it's like show up at certain places in LA or whatever and get the clues, and then you get a driver's license of yourself as a Gotham citizen, and you bring that to a certain theater in LA, New York, or whatever, and then you're shown the prologue. Like, I think it was in October. It was as early as October or something. So 3 months before they put the prologue in front of I Am Legend, and long before Heath Ledger died, and we saw that, and we were like, because I was enough invested in Batman at that point, and like reading sites like Joe Blow or ours and stuff, that I was like, wow, like Heath Ledger's some of the worst casting choice of all time. Because that's like when you're an ignorant geek, you're always like, whenever they cast anyone, you're like, oh, they got it wrong.
Everybody's wrong.
Yeah, when it's like, what, Heath Ledger? And then we watched the footage, we were like, okay, this is going to be something huge. Like, this is going to be special. Like, even before he died, all of us, like, the way he just limped, like, even the way he walked, to, like, just seeing that first 5 minutes, we were all like, this is different. Like, I can't wait. Like, this looks like something I've never seen before. But I fight with this a lot at work. I definitely don't think he would have won an Oscar if he hadn't died. And I think that ties into the mythology of The Dark Knight as well, being bigger because of the legend of Heath Ledger.
Yeah, and absolutely not taking anything away from the movie itself, not taking anything away from his death or adding to it. I don't mean this in any negative way. I really feel like his death provided that movie a little bit more momentum than it necessarily would have had. Not that it would have been a flop. I'm not saying it would have been a flop at all. So, but it was great overall. It really was, and it was a great performance from Ledger for that type of Joker. A great look. I really, really like the look. Regardless of what you think of his performance, the look was great. And my least favorite look from that movie, even though Dent was an awesome character, I hated the burned off completely. Like, I guess the medical knowledge I have, very little medical knowledge I have, is like, there's no way you would survive having that much of your face burned off, that much bone tissue exposed, your eyes not going to work. Harvey
Not only
Dent's,
that, but like when your mouth doesn't close all the way like
Yeah.
that, it's gonna be like
his costume did. It kind of took me away from the movie a little bit whenever he was on screen. I'm like, no, that wouldn't work. I believe Tommy Lee Jones' Two-Face more than yours.
purple.
I still believe it more than Aaron Eckhart's Two-Face. Makeup, not the character, just the makeup.
Well, CGI in that case.
Yeah,
There
well,
wasn't
yeah,
any makeup.
yeah.
They over CG'd it. They should have done some Walking
Definitely.
Dead type makeup.
Yeah, exactly. If there's a costume that could really lend itself towards practical effects, that's one of them you can easily do.
Especially with Nolan, who doesn't like we haven't discussed it yet, but that truck flip, like it's done with a piston, but it's done for real. Like
Yes.
again,
Yes.
like that's why I like the Nolan ones. The same reason like Mission Impossible. It's like if they can do it, they'll do it.
Yeah, and definitely, and that does lend itself to some great scenes in the Nolan movies, practical effects. So let's get down to a little bit of business here. Let's say, who is your favorite Bruce Wayne?
Okay, I have a question about this. Can
Yes.
we use Ben Affleck in this section because we've seen him play Batman twice?
No.
Damn, I would say Ben Affleck for both if I could use him. I love Ben Affleck's Batman, even though he hasn't been used right.
Okay.
So best Bruce Wayne. It's always hard to separate. I mean, it's easy to separate the two, but it's always Bruce Wayne's almost the hardest one to pin down.
Because we're
wanna say
completely
Val
ignoring Kilmer. And no.
But
What?
I'm gonna say Keaton though. Keaton, his Bruce Wayne is so weird that's almost more like a Clark Kent. Like he's weird and goofy, but it works really well. Like when they're looking at the statues and they're like, who would have bought all this stuff? And he's like, actually, I did.
I did. It's from Japan. How do you know that? Because I bought it there.
Like I like that kind of almost
that.
bumbling Bruce Wayne, or even the moment where he has to step up and he's like, "You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts."
Yeah, that was great. I think Keaton's my favorite Bruce Wayne. He does a good job of making me believe he's a billionaire or millionaire or whatever, 100 millionaire, whatever the case may be. I believe Keaton as a billionaire playboy. I don't buy. Maybe it's the whole scene in the hotel from Batman Begins with Bale.
It's not even a pool; it's a fountain.
And that'll go into our next. We both have the same favorite. I think Christian Bale sucks as Bruce Wayne. I really do. I don't like him as Bruce Wayne.
Christian Bale's just too cocky sometimes.
No,
I don't relate to Christian Bale's Bruce Wayne.
Not at all.
He's a billionaire. Maybe you shouldn't relate to him, but like, there's not really. I know both. I mean, I know that's the mask more than Batman is, and they point that out in that trilogy more than any other Batman movie.
Yes.
And I've always subscribed to that belief as a comics reader. But he puts up such a mask that he comes off like Keanu Reeves, and he's very flat.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Even when he's talking with Alfred in private, he's fairly flat.
I can still see George Clooney as a better Bruce Wayne than Christian Bale. Fight me on it. Let's go.
George Clooney's the worst at everything in the Batman universe.
But he's still a better Bruce Wayne than
He is
Christian
charming
Bale.
in George Clooney, and he's got the chin.
Oh, okay. So who's your favorite Batman, voice included? And no, we heard Ben Affleck. Got it.
It would have been Ben Affleck for sure.
That's another discussion for another day. Who's out of Kilmer, Clooney, Bale, and Keaton? Who's your favorite Batman?
I'm gonna say Kilmer.
Okay,
I like Kilmer's Batman. He's soft spoken. He's not like a or even like as loud as Keaton. Even as loud as Keaton. He's almost whispering to everyone, whether it's Chase Meridian or other. I don't know. He's effective when he just shows up. You feel his presence. Whether it's him dropping through the ceiling at the gala or like covered in sand and that like hand grab by Robin, which is cheesy. It's just and the finale, it works. I don't know, his Batman works.
He's the only one in that whole movie trying. He looked at Keaton, he's like, you know what? Thank you for handing me this baton. I'm going to carry on and do the best I can possibly do at being Bruce Wayne and Batman. And I give you that. That's... And you've almost changed my mind.
Even though he doesn't do that much detective work per se,
no,
he always looks like he's doing it. Like, you'll see him glance around at all of his surroundings really quick. Like, when he's in the thing with the guy who's like, it's boiling acid! And he, like, borrows his hearing aid, and he's like, I need that. And he's like, my hearing aid! Yes, that's very hilarious. Batman, to be like, I need this to get us out of here.
And he does a good job at solving the incredibly easy riddles that Jim Carrey's Riddler gives him. I still say my favorite Batman is Keaton. And maybe that's because I'm an 80s kid. I don't know what it is specifically.
Mine was either Keaton or Kilmer. So
yeah. Keaton just does such a good job. He has a little bit deeper voice than Keaton, but he doesn't do the whole I am Batman that Christian Bale, who constantly got deeper and deeper. And this is one of my least favorite moments of any of the Nolan films is whenever Batman is speaking. The way he has to purse his lips to growl that way. It reminds me of that YouTube with Batman and the metal music. No. I'm talking like the where Batman's animated and it's like metal music from Metalocalypse. Have you seen any of those? He's always got his lips pursed out like this when he talks, and that's what Christian Bale's Batman reminds me of.
And that's the key to a good Christian Bale Batman parody that Pete Holmes does.
Pete Holmes? I'm completely ignorant on that. I'll have to look it up.
Oh, he does all those college humor ones.
Okay.
I've seen lots of
college humor, but not the Batman ones.
He does Badman, is what they call it. Like, he does like many. They're so great. One of them is about him actually killing people. And like they have Patton Oswalt made up to like what Nolan's Penguin would look like. And they're like, Batman, you just threw a batarang in that guy's eye. He's dead. He's like, no, he's just sleeping. And it's just like these ridiculous. Or there's one where he tells Rachel the line where he's like, it's not who I am that matters, but what that line. And she's like, Bruce, and he's like, no. They're great. I'll send you a link. They're the best.
All right. I'll have to check those out. All right. And let's end it on this. Who do you think is the absolute best, not Ledger? I'm going to assume.
I wouldn't use Ledger anyway.
Is Ledger the best villain for all these Batman movies?
No.
No? Okay. So who is your best overall? Dent?
Yeah, I gotta go with Dent. He's not even a bad guy for me. But even like his early signs when he's flipping the coin, the guy wearing shift or whatever Batman tells him, he's like, he's just a common thug, where he's like, like that. Even that early, it's not planted as early or as dark as in Long Halloween, but just seeing the early signs even early on make him by the time he goes full Two-Face, like when the Joker puts his gun to his head and like tells him to pull the trigger, it's like, we're there. This is peak. Like, we've spent his origins longer than Batman's origin, and Batman
is pretty good.
It's great.
Yeah. Has Jeff Loeb written anything as great since The Long Halloween?
Dark Victory is a decent follow-up, but I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
I like all of the books him and Tim Sale do together. They're like Captain America White, Spider-Man Blue, Daredevil Yellow, Catwoman When in Rome.
I didn't really buy into those colored Marvel books like that. I really didn't. Not saying they were bad, they just weren't my cup of tea.
The only way I could get this was to buy a black and white statue, but I have Tim Sale's Batman. Because I love the tall ears. He's my favorite artist to draw Batman. The ridiculous ears that would make any sense in real life. I love them.
And who's your worst? Who do you think is the worst Batman villain out of all these movies?
This might not even be enough of a villain to count. Bane and
No, I'll count that.
The Bane, but not Bane in
Batman and Robin.
Yeah. Does he even count as a full character? He's like Arnold Schwarzenegger's charming because of that stupid accent and those stupid jokes.
And Uma Schwarzenegger has at least a motivation.
Yeah,
I'll give him that.
Bane's just like, does he even say any dialogue in that movie? He's just like,
he repeats and growls words that Poison Ivy gives him. She's like, step on it. He's like, step on it. Yeah, stuff like that. Ridiculous.
It just even looks ridiculous.
I'll agree. He's definitely the worst, if not. And I, the mad scientist that creates Bane might be a worse villain, but he's only in there for a few minutes. So then, and he plays Lionel. Lionel Luthor in the Smallville series. He's the mad scientist that creates Bane in Batman and Robin, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm mistaken, please send me your hate mail and tell me where I'm wrong at. But I do. I think the guy playing the mad scientist that creates both Bane and Ivy is the same actor that does Lionel Luthor from Smallville. I think so. By the way, Bane and him, complete garbage. Best Batman villain for me, you make a convincing argument for Harvey Dent. I'm still going to give it to Jack Nicholson as the Joker. I even, like I said, sometimes I put him above Heath Ledger's Joker. He's such a fun character. Like I said, the handshake with the buzzer, turning the dude into a skeleton. When he's shooting the gun behind his back and under his leg and stuff like that. Just completely over the top. I love it.
Pulling the long gun out of his pants.
Yes.
What?
Yes.
This is awesome.
And dancing, like you said, the art museum bit, all of that. Jack Nicholson, great. I love it. Well, man, we've spent about an hour covering Batman movies, 7 of them to be exact. Do you have any last comments on Batman movies? Any hopes for the Batman?
I hope the Batman's good. At this point, I feel like they're going to lose Affleck. So I really want to see, Lee Pace has always been my first choice for Batman. Not always, but recently. Brian Edward Hill, who just did a run on Detective Comics, writes for Titans, and is going to write Batman and the Outsiders. It's December, recommended it once on Twitter, and I was like, holy crap. So I wrote about it on Breaking Geek. I'm like, this guy's the guy, you know?
Very interesting. It's good.
But otherwise, I'm glad I made you watch all the Batman movies.
I hate you for that, Nick. I really do.
I hate you because you're always playing Spider-Man and like rubbing in my face. I'm like, I don't have a PS4, and Sony was a dick.
Game. It's such a great game. Well, it's Sony owns Spider-Man movie rights, owns the PlayStation. It just makes sense. Go out and buy a PlayStation.
All the other ones have been on every platform.
They have been, and
this is the one that looks the best.
And the majority of them are great. And I don't want to get too off topic, but I will say this: it's a great game. It's a fun game. It does, like most of these games, get repetitive. You know, there's a lot of pushing square. There's not as many button combinations as some of the other games, but it really is like the best of all the other games out there. You know, your Web of Shadows, Spider-Man 2 from the movie series on PS2 and GameCube back in the day. It's great.
I'll just go back and play Arkham Knight again while you enjoy your brand new game.
You have fun with your Arkham Knight. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on this episode of LRM Ranks It, where we rank the Batman movies. You can find me at that Kyle Malone on Twitter. I also am writing the brand new column for Star Wars, The Cantina, on LRMonline.com. Nick, where can everybody find you at?
I am at LRM_Nick on Twitter, and I write Breaking Geek about 3 times a week on LRM. And I love it best when I'm joined by fellow commentators like Kyle. So it's the best.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right, that wraps it up for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Have a great one. Make sure you hit the like, subscribe, share, bell, all of that good stuff. Click like 100 times on our website and share us with 1 million of your friends and family. And join us next time. Have a good one.